Going to continue on in our presentation with part 2, looking at scope. The next part of defining the project is determining the scope of work that needs to happen. So this involves establishing boundaries, both for what the project will do and, just as importantly, what it will not do. One of the biggest challenges is managing a project is avoiding scope creep, where small changes begin happening and suddenly the expectations have become infeasible within the resources and constraints. Defining the scope of work will establish criteria for monitoring and controlling the project throughout the process. So why scope? This again defines the boundaries for what the project will do and will not do. So you need to really think of the statement that you want to use for your scope. Again, things that are within the project that are attainable, things that are not going to be attainable. So determine those early on in your initiating phase. Scope statement can be qualitative or quantitative. It should align with the project goals. Once the scope statement is written, it is useful to review it against the resources, constraints, and assumptions to ensure that the scope is realistic. The final presentation or celebration of project should be described in your scope statement. You may need to explain the difference between qualitative and quantitative descriptions in your scope statement. So qualitative, we're going to base that on the quality or characteristics rather than on how much or how many. Quantitative, this would be your statistics or numbers. Maybe, for example, what would be the average participation in sports, calories consumed. And then qualitative, you're going back to the user comments, end user comments on their feelings, their experiences, their behaviors, their attitudes. As we move into deliverables and dependencies, our deliverables are things that lead to goals. If a project has one very specific goal, it may only have one deliverable and may be the same as the goal. Each deliverable is a discrete part of the project that will often have specific resources, schedule, team members, quality measures, and risk management plans. You should identify the deliverables for your project. Dependencies. Some of these deliverables will have dependencies, which means that in order to get a deliverable done, something else may need to be done before it. Dependencies are the relationships between the deliverables. Deliverables can depend on each other in two different ways. Sequential, each deliverable must be completed before the next phase begins, but there is a planned set of deliverables through the end of the project. Concurrent, 2 or more deliverables may run concurrently. And I think we realized some of these dependencies in our hands-on activities the last time we met. Stakeholders. Stakeholders are the people that have an interest in your project and its goals. Identifying the internal or external stakeholders for your project is usually fairly easy at the beginning, but there have certainly been examples where parents or administrators being unnecessarily surprised, leading to the possible unpleasant outcomes of your project. So really think about your stakeholders initially. So look at other students, teachers, peers, anyone that would have an interest in your project. Make sure to map those to your deliverables. Project managers. In the business world, the project managers are usually assigned before the project gets underway so that they can lead to the defining and planning of our projects. Here's one way you might want to organize managers, since you have many people on your team, and you don't want one person to end up doing all the work. So you might want your main project manager to be the one responsible for helping the project stay within the scope, reporting to the stakeholders, and presenting a regular project update to the larger group. You might want to have a time manager who will be responsible for helping the team stay on schedule and coordinating schedules between team members that have dependent deliverables. You may also want to have a quality and risk manager. Their responsibilities would be helping the team identify possible challenges and stumbling blocks, and getting the supplies or other resources needed to help the team to produce their deliverables with high quality. Each part of the initiating phase informs the other. As you identify resources, you may need to revise your goals. Or as you consider constraints, you may need to add someone else to your stakeholder list. Defining the project from the outset will help keep track of all the details and identify which decisions may have the most impact on the other parts of your plan. So again, we'll just jump right back into the course. Again, you'll be working with the initiating phase project document and the project planning document. So take time. I'll get your groups set up on Blackboard so you can be sharing your documents. But to get started next week, I want you to complete these individually, or if you want to possibly get with your group, that's acceptable, but just have those completed in their entirety before class. Have a great weekend. Look forward to seeing you again.